makes me think, honestly, also of LinkedIn. I love LinkedIn. I get so many great connections through LinkedIn, but I will not actually really fully connect with you and follow up if our next correspondence after we connect is a whole book.
Oh, God,
if I have to scroll on my phone to read what your message is, then that is just pitching me from the get-go. And I do not connect and follow up with those people, which is so weird because I feel like we all know you only do business with people you know, like, and trust.
Yeah.
So how do we get to that point?
That's such a good question.
Welcome to the Sold Out Sales Podcast, the podcast that will equip both the seasoned sales professional and the more reluctant seller with mindset shifts and strategies needed to succeed in a competitive marketplace.
Welcome to the Sold Out Sales Podcast. And guess what? It's just you and me today. We're going to be talking about relationship-based networking in sales. And I think it is such an important topic because if you listen to some of the episodes we've done in the past, and if you're just kind of listening to what's happening in the marketplace, there are so many professionals who are amazing at what they do, and they really struggle with networking. And that might be because they're a little more introverted or maybe even shy, and it's difficult for them to have conversations. It might be that they don't have a system, so they don't feel like networking really works for them. And it might just be that they don't know how to network well. So I said it was just you and me, but when it's just you and me, we always got Taylor in the room, right? So I have Taylor here because, as I've said before, in addition to being our producer of this amazing podcast, making me look good in lights, she also is a master networker. And I think that this conversation is going to be a little bit different than what you're probably expecting, but it's going to be crucial. The thing that I really want us to focus on today and understand about relationship-focused networking is that we should focus on genuine connections over transactions. And so frequently, people walk into the room, and as they walk into the room, they're kind of saying to themselves, I need to get 3 clients. I need to get 3 clients. I need to, instead of thinking, I want to meet 3 amazing people. I want to contribute to 3 amazing conversations. I want to make an impact on 3 people. I mean, it's like if we'll shift the way that we think about walking into a networking room, and that might mean a networking room online too, right? It might mean us being in an organization that we're a member of and they meet on a weekly basis. If we'll shift the way we come into those rooms, it can really shift the type of experiences that we're having. That we're able to understand the importance of quality over quantity. That we're willing to learn how to listen, because many of us think that we know how to listen. And I promise you, I teach this for a living. We use it as the entry point for sales processes, as you well know. And I even find myself sometimes having to be very intentional about being in the moment, in the presence of the person that I'm in, and not thinking about whether it's the next thing I'm going to say or something else, like, did I take the roast out of the oven, So really being intentional about the way that we listen, and then understand that it's okay to feel awkward, but we gotta put a plan in place. We have to put a plan in place so that we don't miss out on so many opportunities because it feels awkward, we choose not to do it. So I'm going to ask Taylor, because again, Taylor and I met many years ago. I was trying to think, I'm literally thinking today going, did I meet Taylor at eWomen? Did I meet her at NABO? Did I meet her at another type of meeting? I don't know where we met, but I know we met at a networking
I feel
event.
like Networking Phoenix Gellies. Do you remember back
I do,
when?
yeah, I definitely
I think
do.
that might have been it.
Maybe it was,
because
but
there used to be tons of people at those events.
I mean, I want to say I got to Phoenix in 2014, and I met you shortly thereafter, probably in the first 2 years I was here. So it's been a long time. It was back when all those things were happening.
It was
that are
way
no longer
pre-2014 because I started my business in 2014.
Yeah, so it would have been very, very, very much around that.
Yeah.
So what is the way that you're able to have great connections in networking settings that lead to business, but not meaning you walk into the room going, I got to get the business? How does that work for you?
Honestly, I think about the title of your book, Networking is Not a One-Night Stand.
That's it.
And that is 100% true. It's really about, whatever you're thinking of any relationship, it's not about you, it's about them. And it's just being like ultra curious about who the person is, because you don't want to just know what their business is. You kind of want to know who they are as a person, what their
Yeah.
values are. Is this even a person you want to have a follow-up conversation
For
with?
sure.
And so I really think it's, a matter of just being like ultra curious and knowing, like your book title again, networking is not a one-night stand. You have to take it to the next level. You just have to learn about each other and have that discovery time, and then just follow up in a timely manner, just like dating.
That is right there, right? We're going to totally talk about that more for sure. But I think, and you guys, there's phrases I use a lot because I think that they're important for us to hear. If you slow down the process, you'll speed up your results. And sometimes we're in such a hurry to try to get to the sell that we miss the great opportunity to develop a relationship. They could have been a long-term sell, meaning they could have been someone who comes back to you over and over again, opposed to someone who might buy something once if they buy anything at all. I always love to think about even networking, not just sales, but networking as serving more so than selling. So if I'm going into a room going, how can I contribute, right? How can I be a blessing to someone that I meet? And that might be by giving them a tip. It might mean that I can make an introduction for them. It might just mean that I am being a human in front of them, opposed to all of the robots that they've met this week, right? And is try to just get them to buy something. It's a conversation, not a pitch. So the thing that I teach is called the engagement statement, not the elevator pitch. Let me tell you why. I'm big on words. Words mean something to me. And so I know that everyone uses it, so there's no disrespect for those who use that particular phrase. But when I think about an elevator pitch, it feels like something being thrown at me. It doesn't feel like something that's been thoughtful, that I'm really trying to create an opportunity for a conversation. A pitch to me is like, I'm going to say something, you're going to give me the business. I'm going to say something and you're going to hire me to be this, that, or the other. Because even when you're thinking about like actors and things, they audition. That's kind of a form of a pitch. Whereas when I'm going to meet someone, I'm not auditioning. I'm really, if anything, I'm interviewing. I'm deciding if I can be of service to them, if potentially they could be of service to me, and if there's anyone else that I know that I might be able to maybe create an opportunity for as well. And so approach networking as a conversation, not a pitch, because pitches get thrown. And I don't want anyone to feel like you're throwing yourself at them, right? It has to be different. It has to feel different. How does it feel to you when it's very evident someone is pitching you?
Oh, it feels dirty. You just feel like you're on a car lot. I start looking around like, wait, I didn't realize I was buying a car today.
Right?
You just kind of feel a little sleazy about it. And I kind of think it's similar, like a similar metaphor for is like fishing.
Yeah.
You can either fish with a wide net and you might catch a bunch of junk and trash in the net and, all these other different types of fish. Or you can be really intentional about what are you going fishing today for?
Yeah.
And, maybe you are just fishing for someone that you might want to give to a friend.
Yeah.
And so there's so many different aspects of networking that you're right. You don't have to go into it saying, I'm going to get, 5 clients today. Just, I hope to make a great connection.
Absolutely. And, I had something happen to me that was kind of icky yesterday. I'm going to do my best to make this as vague as possible so it doesn't tell on the person that did this. So I met someone at an event. And to be honest with you, my immediate experience with them was a pitch for sure. I felt like they were pitching me. But then we did a few like networking activities and, went around the circle a few times and so on and so forth. And I felt like, okay, well, maybe we can have a conversation because what she sells, I actually need. I actually need it, right? So I was like, okay, let's talk. So she had sent me an email and said, hey, I'd love to talk to you to get to know you better. Listen to what I'm saying, guys. So what you don't want to do is lead with a lie. Because when you reach out to someone and say, hey, I'd love to get to know you better, that's what that first conversation ought to be.
Yeah.
Whereas,
do you have kids? Where'd you grow up?
Tell me, how did you get started in this? Let me understand more about what you do. So if I hear someone that's maybe in need of what you do, I can introduce you. That's what the get to know you should be. But what happened in the conversation that I had yesterday was a couple of questions about me, and then immediately, not only was it a pitch, she pulled up a PowerPoint with prices and links on it and everything. First conversation after we left that room. And I was sitting there going, and to me, maybe I take things too personally. I don't know. I was just like, man, I feel like I've been wham, bam, thank you, ma'am.
Yeah, you got cheated.
I took the bait, and I thought she really wanted to get to know me. Because again, I really wanted to buy what she has to offer. Will I buy it? Will I buy it? Yes. Will I buy it from her? No. because that to me felt like bait and switch.
And you lost trust, probably.
Of course. And what tends to happen is people see our online pictures of our retreats and they see these amazing women having a great time. And what they now say is, I want to tap into your network. I don't want to get to know you. I want to sell to all the people that you have gathered for me. And so that didn't feel great. And again, for me, everything for me is lessons. And I'm like, and so it just really solidifies what we already teach, which is we want to go into any conversation, any relationship with truth, with authenticity, right? Authentic relationships yield long-term results.
Right.
That speedy, I just got to get to the credit card. It shifts the way people feel about you. And guess what? Not only will people not refer you, they will tell people not to do business with you, because during my retreat, we were talking about a whole totally different person who had asked if they can come and do some work with us in a specific field. I won't even say the field because they will know what I'm talking about, but in a specific field. And I thought, I don't know them well, but I'll kind of talk about it with the clients and see if this is something that they need. And immediately one of the clients says, it's not such and such, right? And I go, why do you say that? And she said, I just had a really bad experience. And that person, they weren't really genuine. And they pitched heavy to a group. And it was just so off-putting.
Yeah.
And so, if we think about how that feels for us when it happens to us, why would you want to put someone else in that position where you come across as the moment you walk up, someone's going, oh my God, here it's coming. And here it is, right? Yeah. And the reason that I wrote the book, Networking is Not a One Night Stand, because I'd had an experience. I've had several, of course. This is, we network a lot and this is what I teach, so I pay a lot of attention to this. But I'd had a scenario where someone walked up to me at an event where I had spoken. I was a speaker, came off the stage and, meeting lots of people. And somebody walked up to me and they just literally stuffed their business card in my face. And I'm going, hi, how are you? Who are you? And he just goes into a full out pitch. What was interesting to me is he sold medical devices. Do I look like a hospital? Do I look like a clinic of any sort? I can't help you. I don't buy what you sell anyway. Why are you forcing your card down my throat? And it was just so, again, it's disheartening to see that people just won't take the time to care enough to get to know someone, to see if it is a good fit, and if so, then to know how to take it to the next level. Yeah. What's been your experience when we're talking about that kind of hard pitch, not creating a great reputation for yourself because that's the way you come across?
It makes me think, honestly, also of LinkedIn. I love LinkedIn. I get so many great connections through LinkedIn, but I will not actually really fully connect with you and follow up if our next correspondence after we connect is a whole book.
Oh, God,
if I have to scroll on my phone to read what your message is, then that is just pitching me from the get-go. And I do not connect and follow up with those people, which is so weird because I feel like we all know you only do business with people you know, like, and trust.
Yeah.
So how do we get to that point?
That's such a good question. And I think you just answered a really important question for me, Taylor, because someone asked me how much time I spend on LinkedIn. And I said, not much. And I love LinkedIn and I put content on LinkedIn, but I think it's just the constant barrage of inbox messages from sleazy, salesy, icky, those who don't care enough to really create the relationship. I'm like, at least be patient enough to have a first conversation with me before you send me all your...
And now half of them are bots.
Yeah, exactly. And so I'm like, I don't spend a lot of time there because it feels very inauthentic. And I'm beginning to think, I've got to think of a different way to play there or to hang out there that works for me, because I just feel like I go and then I see there's 10 new inbox messages. And the person in me who wants to connect with people, I go and look because I'm thinking maybe someone really does want to have an authentic connection. And it's like, nope, all of them are just sales pitches.
stay on the wall. Just, like feed into your contacts that you really have. This would be my suggestion for LinkedIn, at least, is that I will look on my wall just for a little bit and just comment back on what people are posting. Because that's the thing that, social media is supposed to be social.
Yeah.
And so we're not just supposed to put a thumbs up or smile and keep scrolling. But, if you really do care for those people that you're connected with, give them some love, give them some support. Say, this podcast piece was really insightful, or congratulations on your award, or whatever it might be.
Yeah. Spend time doing things that really feed them and feed you. Mm-hmm. There you go. Answered my question. Thank you for that.
If you're someone who hates to network because you don't always know what to say, I get you. I'm an introvert too, and I've created a free gift for you. It's my Networking and Sales Handbook just for introverts, and it is at tishtimes.com. It'll be the first pop-up you'll see. Grab it. Let me know what you think about it. It's free. Go grab it right now.
So I'm thinking about better ways to network in a way that really is relationship focused. So how amazing is it? I was just talking with someone, I think actually somebody I was interviewing earlier, that was talking about how just having that sincere interaction even online kind of breaks down the barriers of getting to know someone. So you feel like, you said it actually, you feel like you already know someone because you've had some great interaction online. And then when you see them in a room, it's like, hey, I've been following you or whatever. So how amazing is it for someone? I know for me, now that I've been doing this podcast for 3 seasons, right? This is our 3rd season, rather. I frequently get people who will stop me and say, hey, I've been binging your podcast. That's an ego boost, right? That's like, I'm always so grateful for that.
Shows off.
Right? It's great stuff. And so how amazing is it when you walk into a room, and especially when it's a speaker or specific attendees you want to meet, instead of going, hey, how are you, buy my stuff? It's like, hey, I've been following you and I really appreciate this. I read your article. I follow you on this platform, or I've heard all of your podcasts or whatever. That's a better way to initiate a conversation or to, be sincere than trying to craft something that doesn't feel authentic. It feels like it's a pitch ready, almost like you're setting them up for a pitch. So I wouldn't even say research with the intention of getting their attention so you can sell them something, but genuinely tell them how much you appreciate the work that they're putting out there, right?
Yeah. People love compliments, and even so, even if it is someone that maybe you're not following, that you don't really know, like I will always try to look for what is there something I could compliment?
Yeah.
Even if it really is someone I don't know and I want to have that relationship with, I do always try to lean in with and I do genuinely, and it's not like I'm picking random stuff, but I do genuinely love the color blue. Yeah. And so if someone's wearing something that's blue, it's like, where did you get that? Yeah. I want that, you know? And so it's just kind of starting on a common ground versus putting yourself on a pedestal, being the pitcher.
For sure. So good. I love even the conversation starters that feel different than what everyone else is saying.
Which you're so good at.
I got so sick of saying, if people going, so hi, what do you do? It's like, come on, we are more creative than that. So it's like taking that same question, but just flipping it. What do you love about what you do? How did you get started with what you do? I mean, it's the same general question, but it hits the ear different because it's not what everyone else in the room is saying, right? What inspired you to attend? What breakout sessions have you been to that have really fed your soul? It's like saying things or asking questions that create a real conversation, not with just the intention to find out how can I sell them something. It's the biggest difference than what we normally would say. And I've found this new way of doing things that is working so well, and I think it's so powerful because what most people will do is when they find someone that they think is a potential new client is they monopolize their time. They stand there and they want to talk to them and, pin them in a corner and they can't get out.
Yeah.
But interestingly, by taking away a little bit, if you will, and kind of creating an opportunity for a future conversation is much more powerful than trying to tell them your entire life story and ask them all the questions all at the same time in that same room. But by saying, I'm really enjoying talking to you, but I don't want to take up too much of your time. I'm going to let you go so you can, meet some other people.
Right.
Maybe we can chat again in the future. More people will say yes to a future conversation with that than the person that you talked to for an hour and a half in the corner at a networking event, because you're like, oh my God, I don't want to talk to that person again.
100%. 100%. Yeah. And, I do feel like every time you get deeper when you have those conversations, the rooms are just so loud. There's just so much going on. There's only so much you could really talk about, So it's respecting their time and their space and what their goals were for that night.
Exactly.
And then really being able to have that deeper, quieter conversation at your office or at a quiet coffee shop.
Absolutely. I think that people are much more inclined to do that anyway, because it's almost always difficult to hear in some of the events, or there's so many other things going on, or the speakers getting up on the stage. There's so many things that could happen. I want to give you all also, when we talk about relationship focused networking and sales, some non-traditional networking options. And we've talked about some of these in episodes past, but I want to give you a couple of new ones that might be more applicable either to what you do or who you are as a person. Because I found after years of not only going to 2 and 3 and 4 day events, which I don't mind sometimes, but it's just not my thing. It's not the thing that really feeds my soul. I come out of it exhausted. I get overwhelmed by the majority of, by the abundance of people sometimes.
It's the introvert coming out.
I'm like, I need to go find me a quiet corner. And I kept doing it because I thought that's how we had to network for years. I held, 3 big conferences because I thought that's what we had to do. And at some point I got smart and I realized, wait a minute, I really enjoy more intimate conversations. I really enjoy gathering people that I can see eye to eye and have feedback and conversations. And so I've moved to doing retreats, and those are my heart. I love them so much. And so that might be something to consider is, kind of curating a room where you're bringing people who want to hang out with you for a full 1 day or maybe 2 days, but it's based on the types of people and the amount of people you really want to interact with. And you can get a lot more rich conversation happening in those rooms. You all have heard me talk about it for years now, and I'm going to continue to talk about it because I just think it works well. It's hosting a roundtable, and that can be done online or in person, but still it's designed to be a group of 10 or less where there's a lot of great interaction. There's a very specific topic in the works that you all can discuss, and it's a great way to lead to future conversations. This is something that I did for so many years. Shout out to El Paso, Texas, my hometown where I was born and raised. When I was still in El Paso, when I first started my company and I did not have a physical office, I would go to a Starbucks and I would just stay there all day. And I would invite people to meet me. I'd have somebody meet me at 1 o'clock, then somebody at 2 o'clock, then somebody at 3 o'clock. And what that did, number one, believe it or not, it became the place where people knew where to meet me. They would look for me there. It's the Airway and I-10 Starbucks. You guys from El Paso know exactly what I'm talking about. But what was more important is that not only did I develop some great relationships with the people that I was having those conversations with, I was having great conversations and beginning relationships with other regulars in the coffee shop. Because in between appointments, they would come over and go, hey, what do you do? I always see you here meeting people, and I just, I want to know. And before you know it, now I've got a brand new relationship that frequently led to either business or new referrals. This is something that you all have heard of. I don't know that people are doing them enough or doing them well, which is the traditional lunch and learn. And the lunch and learn is a great way for you to be the contributor. So this is the lunch and learn. This is the way it should be. You pick up the brown bag lunches. You bring them to the office. And then you're given the opportunity to have an interaction with that team. And that's generally going to be a smaller team. But there's, I think they were done a long time ago really well. And then we've kind of got away from it. And people are just going, hey, I'll just come and stop by while you guys are having lunch. That's not a way to capture their attention. You have to be a contributor in order to really capture and earn their attention in all honesty. And then, the things that you can do, we've been talking a lot about in previous episodes. Make sure you listen to my episode with Melanie Benson. That was the 2026 episode talking about curating and creating great communities. In other words, network on your own terms. I think that we've gotten in our heads that networking has to be what it always has been. And that's just not true, right? We can network on our own terms, create your own collaborative community, many masterminds, inviting people to maybe do a think tank, and you'd be surprised at what comes out of it. And most important, not only do you develop great new relationships, but people will often become your greatest collaborative referral partners. And so it's a little bit non-traditional, but don't think networking has to be what it always has been in order to get sales. It can be what you make it, and it can be amazing. And I'm just telling you from experience, I've just shifted and said, you know what? This is what I want to do. This is what I'm really good at. This is what works for me. And it's really shifted the way that I do business.
Yeah. And finding community, like you said, super important. I know we're both a part of the NABO community.
Yes,
and, there's so many different types of groups that you could find the one that you jive with the most and get along with the most. And, but then stay dedicated.
Yes.
I feel sometimes people will then, find a group and sign up and be all excited and go the first month, and then crickets and you don't see them.
Yeah.
And so that's the thing too. It's just as we've been kind of saying, it's all about building relationships and getting to know each other more. So make sure you're attending those events and attend when you can. Put it in your calendar. Make it a commitment.
Yeah. And, I would even say take it a step further and become a part of that leadership team, a part of their, if they have events, get on their membership team, get on their events team, programs. Get visible in that group as well, because then you become a resource and people will kind of point people directly to you as the go-to for whatever it is that you do. So don't just, go. First of all, go, please. Go consistently, but then put your hands to work, because the people who are working in those events are normally the ones that are the most visible and get the most benefit from it altogether.
And then maybe become president like Tish is going to be.
I know. It's like, ooh, this is happening so fast. I'm excited about it, though. So let's talk about our favorite topic, follow-up. Follow-up. We're going to just very quickly just make sure we give a couple of just tips, because a great way to follow up is not necessarily, I'll say not necessarily. The best way to follow up is not, hey, I'm just checking in. Although, people do that, and I'm not saying that you shouldn't do it. I'm just saying there's better ways of following up, because the person who says, I'm just checking in, versus the person who says, I have this great introduction for you that I want to make sure that I make for you. Can you call me back? Who's going to get the call back first? Right? If I have this great resource that when we spoke last, you mentioned you were looking for this, I have this, and I want to make sure that I give it to you, that person is going to get a response. So,
or how did your event go that we were talking about that you're going to the next day? And it shows I was listening.
Absolutely. So I'm just going to say, we'll leave it at this. Keep your follow-up, first of all, consistent, creative, and let's get another C word. Collaborative for sure. Something where you can maybe help make introductions. Consistent again. Clear. We want to make sure that follow-up makes the person excited for the next conversation. So think about it from that respect. What's going to make that person not only call you back, but be excited, delighted, ready to get back on the call with you, a Zoom call, a phone call, a coffee date, whatever. So think so much about what they might need that you create a solution, if you will, or at least point them to a solution, so much so that they're excited to have a next conversation with you. So relationship-based networking and sales will take you so much further than traditional or old school networking. We're not held captive to what we've always done. We can always create a different way. So my assignment for you, always put something into action that you heard on this podcast. And I challenge you to create a new way of networking that works for you, works for your company, works for your personality type, works for your energy, right? It's going to make you do business better and make people want to be in business with you. So I'll see you back here next week. Thanks, Taylor, for hanging out with me. And thanks for being a part of this community. I'll see you next week.
Thanks for listening to the Sold Out Sales Podcast. I would be so appreciative if you would show me and my amazing guests some love by leaving a review on your favorite podcasting platform. Also, go over to tishtimes.com/resource page and make sure you pick up your sales and networking handbook, especially for introverts. Also, I would love to continue this conversation, so make sure you connect with me on Facebook, Instagram, and LinkedIn. I'll see you back here next week.